about the 22nd, Wednesday?
The preferable date, a Wednesday or
A Wednesday or a
Friday.
Friday, yeah.
Moncada?
Present.
Councilmember Sherrado?
Present.
Mayor Broglio is absent. Staff is present.
Thank you. And I would like to have the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to report out of closed session, I would like to refer to Deborah Hinshaw Vieira.
All right, so we're coming out of closed session. Council approved a bonus to be awarded to Rose Llanos in recognition of her exceptional and dedicated service to the city. Thank you. And other than that, direction was given to staff on all other items.
Thank you. Moving on, I'd like to consider the approval of the agenda, if everyone's had a chance to look that over. And if so, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I will
Isabel?
second it.
And Gretel. Okay. What was it? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed, same sign.
Sorry, did we have to do public comment on that?
No, we have public comment now. So for public comment, the public may address the council on any item of public interest not otherwise on the agenda that is within the jurisdiction of the city. No action may be taken. Matters to be addressed may be referred to the city staff or placed on a subsequent meeting agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes per person. Rose, do we have any public comment?
I don't see any.
Okay, and no public comment here in person. Still none? Okay, so we will close public comment. Moving on to consent agenda. Looking at the consent, I do happen to know that we're going to pull item G, the request for approval to have COG manage the procurement of the on-call. We'll be pulling that, and I'll have Amy Augustine do some speaking on that behalf. Anybody else?
Anybody else for him? Okay, and then I have, Debbie Ponte, did you want to pull something on the consent?
We wanted to pull item G as well.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Again, any other items? No? Make it a motion.
Okay, looking for a motion for the rest of the items to be passed.
I'll make the motion.
Motion from Caroline,
I'll second.
second from Isabel. All approved?
All in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. Okay, so for item G, Amy, if you'd like to take the lead on this for just a minute, and then we'll hear from Ms. Pawnee as well.
All right, thank you, Vice Mayor, council members. Because this item basically would launch a process that will determine either in part or entirely how and who engineering services will be provided to the city. From a strictly planning perspective, I felt it was imperative that we bring up the fact that the city's ability to successfully move forward on some very key projects depends on at least some continuity with Dewberry, with specifically Dave Richard on our water and sewer projects, upon which we have existing projects depending upon sewer improvements going forward so that they can continue. Our ability to get access off of Highway 4 depends on Matt Satow remaining past the end of the contract so that he can continue with the California Transportation Commission negotiations. I could go on further, but those are the two that really affect city planning. And so basically wanted to at least call that to your attention so that as you move forward, however you determine to move forward, that I guess the easiest thing to say is my Christmas list does include some items really essential for planning purposes, and would thank you very much for taking those into consideration.
Amy, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
Is this our only option, is to go back out for re-procurement?
I'm going to defer to Rebecca. She
Okay.
can give you all of the options that you have. She's much more versed in that.
Okay.
But it's my understanding that the way our contract was set up, that in having to abide by Caltrans standards, it appears that our entire contract needs to go through this type of a process, at least to a certain extent, unless our contract is chopped up into pieces. But again, I defer to Rebecca to explain that.
Good evening, Rebecca. Do you have a minute to answer that question for me, or chime in any other way?
Yes, hello, how are you? And I will actually defer to Matt. He can explain it probably better than I can.
Perfect. Hi, Matt.
Hi, good evening. So Amy, the intent of this re-procurement, and really what triggered this re-procurement, our original contract to provide these city engineering services began in 2019. It was a 2-year contract. It had an option for extending it. However, and that has been extended. That was extended in June of this year until June of 2022. However, what we ran up against, the contract was procured following all the federal procurement procedures, and the intent of that was if the city had federally funded contracts, that city staff and that Dewberry staff could work on those contracts and the city could get reimbursed for that. What we ran against, though, when we were working on the Murphy's Grade project, the city wanted to move forward with using Dewberry construction management staff on that, and we ran into a contract ceiling on the existing city contract. And so we ran this through. The city was going to amend our contract to include additional funds for this construction management work. Before we did that, Rebecca ran this through Caltrans local assistance. They didn't really know the answer. They didn't think we could extend it. They actually ran it through Federal Highways. Federal Highways said, no, you can't extend that. The procurement has to have adequate dollar ceiling in there. You cannot amend the contract for additional funds. So that's really what triggered this re-procurement of the city services contract. You need to be able to re-procure this so the city has the flexibility in the future to use staff on federally funded projects and get reimbursed for it. Right now, you do not have the flexibility of extending our contract any further at this point. So that really was a reason. And Amy, I appreciate the kind words of certainly Dave, Rebecca are certainly extremely valuable to what is going on in the city, and certainly dedicate those things. What I can commit to you certainly is that on our side, we are here to carry out our contract. I mean, you certainly have seen from the work that Dave and Rebecca have done on this contract. It goes beyond just contract. I mean, they truly do care about the work they do for the city. Certainly have a lot of invested in this. So what I can commit to certainly is that even if we are not selected for this next procurement, Amy and council, we're here to make sure that we're handling a smooth transition to whatever happens. Although I will put a plug in for certainly Dave on the water and wastewater side. It would be very difficult for the city to, I think, replace what he brings as far as his background and knowledge of your system out there. I'll certainly entertain any other questions you have.
Any questions about that?
No.
Matt, are there any options to kind of slice it into pieces like Amy said? Is there any funding left within this contract to do another extension with regard to existing projects and then only procure a new contract with the unknowns on future projects? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I guess I apologize, I should have checked beforehand, but Dave, Richard, are your projects, are they federally funded projects or are they state funded?
The projects are either funded through the capital improvement program, Matt, or we've applied for dollars. One of the projects would be funded through FEMA. The other projects are being funded through the State Water Resources Control Board and that.
Okay, yeah, with knowing that the projects are being funded through FEMA, honestly, my recommendation, you could break it apart into perhaps different things, one for water, wastewater, and then one for city engineer and other engineering services. Certainly you could break apart this RFP into those things, but I still would recommend reprocuring those, whether you break them apart or not, to make sure that the city has the ultimate flexibility in delivering these services, and that to really protect the city, to make sure that you're going to get reimbursed for these federally funded projects. I can only imagine that next year you're going to have a lot of more opportunities to go after funding with the infrastructure bill that's moving forward right now. So I think the timing is correct now to ensure that the city has that flexibility.
Okay. All right, thanks for that. Ms. Ponte, would you like to ask some of your questions?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Herndon. So a couple of questions we had is that this was very broad when I talked about engineering services. So that was kind of the breakdown of the city engineer itself and the specialty projects related to city engineering, the construction projects that are out there, the LLD that is ongoing, and water sewer. And those were 4 or 5 that came to our mind. So we were trying to figure out how COG would be the procurement of all those city services, engineering services, when their specialty is related to transportation. So it sounds like anything related to federal funds is why the COG contract would be important, to have that kind of third-party look, you might say, into making sure that funds are spent properly. Is that more or less, Matt, what needs to be done?
Well, I believe the COG was chosen for a few reasons. One is Amber and her group there, when they're very good at ensuring that the federal procurements are done correctly. And that's one thing that we wanted to do. And secondly, as we serve as, being a small city, staff there do wear many different hats, including my staff that work there as well, Rebecca and Dave. And so in doing that, I think we wanted to make sure that we had some separation on someone else, third party, creating this RFP, doing the procurement, ensuring that Rebecca, Dave, myself had nothing to do with this procurement. In the event that we did decide to pursue it in some, in the next phase, we just wanted to create that separation to ensure that the city's kind of protected from, any claim of favoritism one way or the other, or we have some competitive advantage in that case.
And then the second question to that is that the COG has its own board made up of the city and county and public representation. So if you were to go this route, would these projects then have to go before the COG board and be approved? So another layer of government looking at these projects? Or would it be strictly Amber's report back to the city council and blessed at that point?
I believe so. Their procurement would go as far as, the city is pretty much used, I guess maybe the staff report should have been a little clearer on this, that the COG's role in this really is to just be able to write and procure and do the procurement of this. The city certainly can have as much say as they want as far as who is on the panel to actually decide who's going to provide these city services. It was really just more to create a little bit of separation, because the city did not have any other staff really, other than Amy, I guess, that could have written the RFP for this. That would be the other option. But I think in the past there had been a good relationship of having a COG handle some of these services. But it certainly does not take any control out of the city's hands. You certainly could If the COG was even willing to do this, you could certainly dictate the terms of how this is procured.
That would be something I would certainly want to make sure was quite clear because of the operating boards and how each function in the relationship.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you. And, I see a couple comments here, and I would have to agree with the comment about if the civic council members could speak more clear into the microphone, it would be easier to hear on this end.
I think it's that much.
Thank you.
That's the one that they're hearing.
Oh. I think so.
We're dealing with two different mic systems here.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments on this? All right, so moving forward, I guess we'll be looking for a motion on this to recommend COG for the procurement of the engineering on-call. And nobody's interested in a motion. Amy, what is your idea if Amy Augustine was to do the re-procurement of it? Is that something that you would weigh in on at all, you yourself, and not going through COG? Is that?
Well, I will first say that I could not do it because I am a consultant, but if I were to do a recommendation, I would want to involve staff level at the city to participate with COG so that we could have feedback and perhaps even someone from Destination Angels Camp so that somebody could be there to keep watch on our projects that are so essential to our ongoing development.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I like that idea. So
I would like to make a motion to move forward with having COG manage the re-procurement, provided that there is a level of involvement from city, from DAC, especially for the terms of the procurement, as well as the review of the decision-making of the proposals. I know I'm rambling, Rose, but I just want to make sure that there's a level of city staff involvement that meets our criteria. So definitely a level of previewing this re-procurement before it goes back out, or before COG approves that. That'd be what I would make the motion at, if anybody's interested in a second on that.
Do we have somebody from DAC that would be willing to do that?
Can we move that over here?
Maybe that thing, I don't know. Deb, can you hear us?
Yes, so yes, we could participate as we have in the past on these kinds of projects.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll second it. I think
So
that's
we
a
have
good
DAC
idea.
involved, we have staff involved, Amy can be involved, and so Gretel seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? Same sign. Okay.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Thank you so much. That's going to take us to regular agenda, item A. And this is a public hearing on the appeal of the City of Angels Planning Commission's 11/11/2021 decision approving a conditional use permit on a 4-1 vote for pool safety measures pursuant to the Angels Municipal Code Section 828-070 with conditions. Amy Augustine, Planning Director. I'd like to open the public hearing. I was like, wow, I made music happen with the gavel.
Hold on a second. Thank you. I want to first, if you'll indulge me, show a 90-second video because I think it so perfectly summarizes the project that is before you. And then I'll give a brief presentation. That?
we very well may have to put a fence at the edge of our property. However, this slope right here, that's actually the golf course's property, that hillside.
We're not gonna put it up top, right? We're gonna take away all the view.
We could just put a fence around the pool.
If we have to put a fence around the pool, honestly, it's a look awful.
We don't put a fence around the pool, we have to do all the inspections on the entire perimeter. We have to have a, please tell me we have a. We're building a huge entertainment backyard on our cliff in Riverside, California. And we just found out that we have to put a fence around the yard, sharing our $1 million view. We have to have a, please tell me we have a.
This slope right here is the end of our property, so that's actually the golf course's property, that hillside. We can talk to the golf course, see if they might let us put our pool fence on their property.
If the golf course allows us to build a fence on the slope, we won't put any fence, right?
I think that's for sure like the best option.
We're probably looking at about $10,000 in fence.
I would say easily.
All right, let's talk to the golf course.
All right.
Okay. So let me get rid of that, hopefully. Well, gee, that's harder to.
I know this wasn't your favorite idea of mine, but now what do you think?
Sorry about that.
I think it was awesome.
There we go. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Alrighty. So basically, we have a similar situation here, where the bottom line is we're trying to resolve an issue where that involves a fence that was put up around the swimming pool that is 3 feet. And this planning commission basically has asked that we make it 5 feet on one section and accomplish some retrofit. So let me see if I can get my screen to share here again without you having to watch more of HGTV. No, it's not gonna let me do it. Okay, so basically what we have is we started with a project where there were some concerns that the building official had been out to the site several times and had not brought up the fact that there needed to be a 5-foot fence surrounding the site. As you saw from that video that I just showed you, it's not unusual to have the issue of the fencing around a pool come up later in the process after the pool is already in, and unfortunately that is what occurred here. So in order to assist the landowner, we amended our zoning code in order to allow us some flexibility relative to a 5-foot fence. Had we not done that, the applicant would have had to have put a fence entirely around their pool, 5 feet. And as those of you who have seen the application, there's like a 2.5-foot separation between the window on the house and the actual pool. So they would have had a fence in their face sitting around the pool. So we amended the code to allow some flexibility. And in order to try to meet halfway, if you will, we basically found a way to retrofit a portion of the 3-foot fence to 5 feet. We did not ask for the whole fence to be retrofitted, and it now only has to go around a portion of the pool. Uphill is a steep slope, downhill is a steep slope, so our code is allowing us flexibility not to require a 5-foot fence there. Unfortunately, on one side of the pool it is flat. And so the question becomes, is there the potential for a health or safety hazard from small children or neighboring properties, specifically neighboring properties, relative to that pool? Staff and the Planning Commission concluded that yes, without retrofitting that fence, we could not make the finding that there would not be a potential health and safety issue for small children. Our building official basically summarized it that he would never want to tell grieving parents that we had a chance to do something to that fence and didn't, which basically summarized it pretty well for 4 of our planning commissioners. If you choose to uphold the appeal, basically you would need to make a finding that yes, you do feel that the alarms that the appellant is putting in are sufficient, plus the 3-foot fence is sufficient, and why you feel that that is as safe or safer than a 5-foot fence. And then you can uphold the appeal. Otherwise, the alternative would be to uphold the Planning Commission's decision. Because this is an appeal, it reopens the entire process. You can change 1 condition, 2 conditions, any condition that has been put on the project. You can add conditions, you can take them away. And basically that's all I have, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Council, anybody have any questions for Ms. Augustine? Amy, I have a quick question for you with regard to the recommendations from planning with the fencing alternatives that are like extending it up to 5 feet. Are those the only options?
No, however, they were reviewed with the landowner, and he felt that if he had to do it, that option A was his preference, because it's the easiest. You would stick extenders into the existing 3-foot poles, and then that wire mesh, it comes in a roll, and you would roll it out and attach it to the outside. And it was the most economical and the easiest to do.
So I have to admit that I met with the landowner, the property owner, and I walked the backyard, and I visualized exactly what we're looking at on our paperwork here. And I was a little taken aback by the area that's being called out as necessary to be retrofitted, when just 2 feet from that area is being found to be adequate. The 3-foot or the 3-foot gate is adequate in that area, but not in that area. I didn't see any consistency. So I don't necessarily need you to answer that question for me, but I think that was very obvious to me, and it was concerning. Like, why are we making an exception? Why not make an exception? I don't know. I just didn't see it like no rhyme or reason.
And I'd be happy to respond if you'd like me to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because of the amount of controversy involved, we were trying desperately to work with the property owner. And to be blunt, I had never seen that portion of the site. And because the application that was submitted said that all gates would be 60 inches off the ground, I assumed that all gates were 60 inches off the ground. And it wasn't until I went to visit the site and saw that, that was the first time we'd seen it. And so as not to make anything worse, did not require him to fix those portions also. Things escalated on site, and in order to diffuse the situation, it appeared that the slopes, you could make an argument that it would be way more difficult for a child to get around the end on that steep slope, or have to go all the way around the house from that neighboring property. And so we attempted a compromise.
This is Gretel Tiscornia. I also went and looked at the site, and it's pretty much a mess. The gates are 3 feet, half the wall is 3 feet. We want part of the wall to be 5 feet. It makes absolutely zero sense to me. I'm sorry that it got to this point, because I think that it should have been addressed right from the beginning. I don't really have an answer on it, but it's really a silly layout, in my opinion.
Carolyn, do you have anything?
Well, I think I was the one that didn't vote for that, the planning commissioner's suggestion in the last when we voted for that conditional use, or the approving of the conditional use permit. But I did not go to the site, but I've been reviewing all of the photos and reviewing all of this information, and I kind of came to that conclusion as well, that it seemed like we moved the goalpost or something for this particular project, and so that's kind of where I'm sitting in this as well.
Okay, so at this time, I'd like to receive public comment on this matter. Hi, Nick. If you'd like, yeah, let's hear.
So I do want to start out with saying that my fence has been there the whole time throughout the whole project. So I mean, the commissioner, or the inspector that has come out has seen it. Amy and Melissa Eads both came out and saw it as well before the conditional use permit. So I said the fence has been, it's not a new fence, it's not something that I put up during the construction. It's been there, that everyone has seen. Even noted on my plans, the inspector wanted an additional alarm on my front door because my fence wasn't compliant with state safety rules, so that's why I have an alarm on my front door as well. And I do my pool meets the safety standards set by the state. I said I have a pool alarm and door alarms plus the additional door alarm. And I said I agree kind of with the same thing with where the idea where the retrofit goes is not going to add any additional safety measures to the project. I said I spoke with a bunch of my neighbors since with the conditional use permit. They sent out the letter to everybody. I talked to my neighbor today. That's the one where the fence would be on his side of the property, and he says, is there anything I do to help? He's like, I don't. He said, we had no problem with it. That's why we never even sent in a response. He said, because we've been letting you do, we were happy with everything that's been going on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? No. Okay, so that'll close the public hearing. And I think we're looking for some resolution on this, you guys. You know, Amy, one of the things that I had asked Nick whenever I went out that seemed kind of obvious to me was that in the areas that are not being addressed as needing to be retrofitted, the solution or the remedy, I guess, is because of the grade, right? Because of the slope of the dirt on the mound grading down severely. So I had asked Nick if that was ever a proposition to go ahead and grade that area where the fence is and pull it off to where there's like a little retaining wall there to create 2 feet down instead of going 2 feet up or whatever the necessary height is. Was that ever considered, do you know?
That would be an option we'd be happy to consider. It was not my understanding that the applicant wanted to consider options, but wanted to retain what had already been done.
Yeah. Okay, well, this is a tough one. Anybody interested in making any motions on how we're going to address this? I don't think anyone has a good taste in their mouth about any of the opportunities or any of the resolutions that are in front of us. Although, I do want to say that the property owner is looking for a resolve on this. I mean, this has been going on for way too long, and he's appealed it. He's brought it to us to ask for some sort of recourse, and we owe it to him.
I will make a resolution to leave the fence as is, as long as a solid hedge is planted on the backside. And to move forward, as long as he has the other forms of state mandated alarms.
That's essentially option B, is that correct?
It's upholding, well, let's see.
It would be,
Upholding the opinion.
yeah, it's a combo of 2
And, yeah.
and B.
So you're upholding the appeal as long as there are some shrubbery or planted hedges. So I would have to ask, Nick, is that something that you've entertained, is doing planting, and you would be, would that be a resolution for you?
That would get it 5 feet.
Yeah, you can't swim in the pool until they're 5 feet high.
I'll second that motion that
Okay,
Gretel made.
so Isabel made a motion, Gretel seconded it. Okay, call for a vote.
Staff has a quick question.
Oh, yeah.
Does that motion and second include the conditions for upholding the appeal that address signing the city's indemnification condition that is standard for all projects in the city? That's B.
That's B. Gretel, does that?
Okay, so
B, uphold the applicant's
His
appeal
appeal.
and approve the conditional use permit per the applicant's request to retain all 3-foot fencing with no retrofitting. So then, in fact, you're saying plant hedges or a shrubbery.
okay, yes,
Provided. Staff recommends that the council consider requiring the applicant to sign an agreement to project conditions, to project conditions that include the city's standard indemnification provision included on all city projects and retain all proposed alarms and batteries. So essentially, you're asking for B and adding the component of planting. So,
yes,
yes, Amy, that's the motion.
yes.
Isabel, is that your
Thank you.
second?
Thank you.
Okay, call for a vote on that. Rose, can you call for?
For Vice Mayor Herndon,
Yes.
Councilmember Tiscornia,
Yes,
Councilmember Moncada,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharada.
Aye.
The motion is passed for a 4-0-1 vote. Go swimming. Thank you for your time on this. We
Yeah.
do appreciate your diligence. Thank you so much, Nick.
Oh, it keeps coming back on.
Oh. Amy's still watching TV.
oh,
All right. Item B, of course, approve the application fee waiver for appeal of conditional use permit 698 Easy Street, which is the Middleton Swimming Pool. Amy Augustine, Planning Director.
Madam Vice Mayor, council members, pretty straightforward, yes, no, but of course, to complicate it, staff did throw in an option to reimburse all of the fee except for the $350 legal notice fee for noticing the meeting. Staff does not have a recommendation.
Okay. Anybody interested in making a motion on this one?
Public comment.
Oh, we have to do public comment. Sorry, I lost that. So, public comment. Anybody have anything to say on this one? Okay, how about council?
I would like to propose that we just waive the full 626.67.
Okay.
I will
Looking
second
for a
that.
Second on that. All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed would be same sign. Motion passes 401, Rose. Okay, I lost my agenda, so we're gonna, oh, there it is.
Council report.
Council reports. How about you, Gretel, to my left? If you want to report first, what you've been doing?
Let's see, next Thursday night, Downtown Angels Camp is having the after-hours event on December 17th. The shops are staying open. It'll be the last, is it 17th? 16th. Sorry, 16th. It will be the last late-night event before the holiday, Christmas. So I invite everyone to come down and shop the local stores and listen to some music and eat some chili, and I think that's it.
Caroline?
I attended the IRWMA meeting that was on November 17th, and it was solely around the drought grants that are available for all of the districts here. It was the T-Star project workshop is coming up for drought funding. The issue is that the grants were due like literally in 4 days from when we had this meeting. One was due, and then the other one was due later on this month. So they were circling the wagons and trying to figure out who wanted to go after some of this money that was available. There was going to be two funds. One was $200 million, and then one was $50 million. And the $50 million was for tribal and disadvantaged communities, and then the $200 million was coming from the state, and it was just open. So it looked like there was a cap of $525,000 for your region. So that's why they kind of needed to work out who was going to work on this. So that's the only meeting that I have attended since our last meeting. And then I do have a meeting Thursday for the economic development. Sierra.
Oh.
Economic development. Yes, I'll be attending that on Thursday morning.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I attended the COG meeting, which was last Wednesday. We had a great presentation on bike paths and what they're looking to do in our county, which is really exciting. As we all know, we have a lot of beautiful roads to drive, which a lot of bike riders use. So that was great. We had a Caltrans report, which everything is going well. And then we approved 2 public members to re-up their time on COG. Sorry, I'm getting confused. On COG, one has been serving for 5 years and the other for 7, which I think is really impressive.
Wow.
So yeah, that's my report.
Okay, my report. So actually with Gretel, I did attended a Bret Hart FFA adult floral class on Tuesday the 23rd. It was super fun. It was doing the centerpieces for Thanksgiving dinner table. Wednesday the 24th, I attended the funeral for Michael Scadden, a longtime city employee, and his wife, which was well attended.
And volunteer firefighter.
And volunteer firefighter, yes. Yes, thank you. And that's it. Here I am today. That's all I've done. So that's going to wrap up our council reports. For correspondence, we do have a letter that... Calendar, Rose.
So
you got
I
it?
will email it out to you.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll be receiving the calendar. And correspondence, we have a doc letter that is part of our packet tonight that we've all received. It is a letter regarding City Gate. And having said that, I think we are ready for a motion for adjournment.
Public comment on the correspondence.
Okay, I can't see that
Debbie
part.
Thompson.
Debbie. Hi, Debbie. Can you hear?
Yes, thank you.
Hi.
So I have DAC Chair Tim Oskey with me, and there are others online tonight. So after the last City Council decision to postpone the City Gate report for 6 months, the DAC board met and agreed to write a letter to the City Council asking that the City Council place this on the agenda for this evening, which I understand because of timing and the absence of the mayor. So the mayor and Tim Oskey discussed placing this on the agenda for January 4th, 2022. The DAC board would like an opportunity for the City Council to have this on the agenda for some additional public input from the business leadership community here. We felt it was important that this project not be postponed for 6 months or even a year. We would like to see that perhaps at this particular meeting there's some open dialogue about the importance of this kind of report going forward. We were also asking the city to consider asking Citygate if they can do a report card of sorts to review the last 5 years or the last plan, see where we are, what we've done, what we've accomplished, what we've not accomplished, and see how that can be rolled into a Citygate report number 2. The need is critical for strategic planning for the city. Many of your businesses and your business leaders in this community are looking to you and your leadership in guiding the city going forward over the next 5 to 7 to 10 years. And the longer we wait in government timeframes, the harder it gets to get these projects up and going. This was budgeted in July. I understand the concerns that were expressed at the last city council meeting, and various DAC members have had a chance to review that information, and we felt the timing was critical, and we're asking council to direct staff to put this on the agenda for January 4th so that we can have some open dialogue with our city leadership and the business community, and hopefully by then we are meeting in person so that we can attend in person and be able to have that kind of discussion. I do have a question. It seems like there is some public in tonight's meeting there at the fire station. Is that true?
Yeah, that's correct. We have people here in person. Correct, Debbie?
Okay. So on your agenda, it makes no mention of a public meeting place.
It does, though.
May I comment?
Sure.
At the very top of the agenda, Debbie, it says this meeting will be held at the Angels Firehouse. It gives the address. It says that it will be open to the public with limited seating. It asks that you wear a mask, and it also has the link for the meeting for tonight, if you want to participate.
So tonight's meeting was a hybrid of an either-or option, Debbie, as the firehouse and or via, as
So
you
is
know.
that the intent of the meetings going forward?
That is the direction that we are moving forward, is a hybrid of the two. And we were just talking, we're not sure how long the hybrid's going to stay in place, but that's our goal, is to be in person with a hybrid component.
And is there a limit to the number of people that can be in person?
I'm looking at like 12 chairs here, of which we have 6 people. So, like Rose said, it would be limited seating, unfortunately, and then masks and so forth. So that's what we're looking at.
Okay, thank you for that information.
All right, thanks so much.
So that's a request, and I think Tim Oski is here as board chair that would like to say a few words to this.
Okay, Tim, your 5 minutes is starting. Go ahead.
I don't need 5 minutes.
Oh,
30
well, you're getting 5.
We at DAC have made an effort to kind of bring some awareness to our newer city council members. We have done what we call our Angels Camp Road Tour with 2 of the 5 members, and we have extended that invitation to the rest of the members, and I do believe that we have some scheduled times for Caroline and possibly Mayor Brolio, and then hopefully Isabel as well. So I'm looking forward to doing that with all of you. We want to make sure that we're all kind of working together in conjunction with you guys as a team to try to show where, Citygate brings the value. And so that's our goal. We look forward to partnering with you. We've always been excited about our partnership. And so we're happy to extend that offer, and we're excited that you all have all accepted. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
Okay, so Gretel would like to comment.
Hello, this is Gretel Tiscornia. I just have a couple questions. Did you happen to reach out to Citygate and ask them about doing a presentation in January? I know we talked about it at the DAC meeting.
I think that would be city staff's
No,
responsibility.
that would be city staff, because I'm sure Citygate would most likely charge for some level of a review.
Okay.
I'd be happy to if the city council directed me to do so, but it was more in the staff's arena, the city council to direct city staff to do so.
Okay.
So that when we met in January, we had some idea about what that would entail, the time frame and the costs associated with it.
Okay. And then my second question is, do you have any idea how long it takes for Citygate to come up with their report? once they get direction to move forward on that?
It did, it had a timeline in the
I think that would be something in
packet.
talking with Citygate and negotiated, so we would, certainly express our need, our desire to have something done within a 6-week time period, 8 weeks, whatever we can agree to. But I think that certainly needs to be part of the discussion, so both sides understand that it's a process and it's gonna take X amount of time.
So I just want to
But we're
clarify.
not talking for a very thorough review. It's just more or less a report card, a checklist of sorts of where we are, what we've accomplished, what's left to be accomplished, and how that can be rolled into this next phase along with the strategic planning process.
So Gretel, to answer your question, if you're asking on their full timeline of the report, that was in what we had in our agenda. That stated how long it was going to take, what they were going to do.
As written, as it was
Correct.
proposed,
Yeah.
right? So I
Correct.
think what Debbie's coming up with an idea of a variation of that, which
Right.
is maybe different than the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, but maybe a continuation phase or whatever they're going to be called.
Got it.
And that would be something that we would have to explore. Staff will have to explore that opportunity with Citygate as maybe like a re-proposal from them
Right.
or something, what the new phases and the new streamline could look like. Am I hearing you correct, Debbie? Am I repeating what you're saying?
Some of it was, there was so much work accomplished in the report number 1
Right.
that I think it's important to bring that to the forefront. And I think that will help, there's a
Like a
lot
recap?
of new people to council, there's a lot of new people to the
was
DAC
in-
board. The ACPA board would also like to participate in this discussion on January 4th. So it just kind of brings everybody up to speed about where we are with draft or report number 1 and how we want to move forward. And maybe there's other ideas and input as how we look at report number 2.
Agree.
Okay, agree, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I'm looking for a vote for an adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Is there, excuse me, Vice Mayor Hernan, is there going to be direction given to staff to place this on the agenda?
It will be something that we will consider. I can speak on my own behalf that it's something that I will, I think we need to reach out to Citygate and see what their opportunities are, see what their vision is to, I would like a presentation of how they can recap Citygate 1 and carry into Citygate 2. We can talk about that again off the cuff, and then we do have to circle back with staff and see when we can make those phone calls and when we can burn those midnight hours to get them to come up here and do that. That'd be my vision, if that helps you at all. We can talk about that, Deb.
Yeah, I just, there's 30 business leaders that want to participate in this process, so I want to be able to give them a heads up. We've got the holidays with us, and there's no city council regular meeting that we've scheduled, so.
Correct.
I just don't want to have another month go by.
Can we give
you.
Can we give staff direction to call Citygate and try and schedule a meeting?
I think that'll be on the laundry list of things that we're going to have to give staff to do, but we can definitely talk about that. Absent, yes, okay. So we will be in touch, Debbie, and let you know for sure so that we have a clear, okay. All right, thank you very much. And this,
Motion and a second to adjourn.
correct. And so all in favor? Aye. And this closes the session. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I like that little hammer.